I work out every day. COVID won't kill me.
I'm 24. COVID won't kill me.
I have antibodies. COVID won't kill me.
It's been a long week. COVID won't kill me.
I'm 25. COVID won't kill me.
I'm partying outside. COVID won't kill me.
I don't need to wear a mask around my friends. COVID won't kill me.
I'm 23. COVID won't kill me.
If I haven't gotten it yet, COVID won't kill me.
I'm young. COVID won't kill me.
Famous last words. Don't let them be yours. Socially distance. Mask up, America.
It seems inevitable. It seems inevitable that all eyes will be on quarterback Caleb Williams as he takes full reign of this offense for the second time. It seems inevitable that controversy will surround his predecessor whether he plays or not. It seems inevitable that the Oklahoma Sooners will come out with a win today. The last time the Sooners lost in Lawrence was 1997. But that's the funny thing about college football. The inevitable never seems too certain. On any given Saturday, the Goliaths could collapse, and the Davids can leave victorious. Today, Goliath goes to Northeast Kansas. Will the story change? Will the seemingly inevitable come to fruition? When the Crimson and Cream roll into Jayhawk territory, who will be the victor? It's the Oklahoma Sooners versus the Kansas Jayhawks. From David Booth, Kansas Memorial Stadium in Lawrence, Kansas, this is Game Day U.
Welcome to Game Day U. We're the Game Day U travel team. I'm Kaylee Tinglestad alongside Will Blessing and Shannon Earhart. We're here in Lawrence, Kansas on top of David Booth, Kansas Memorial Stadium. But before we get started today, we're going to take a look at last week and hear what Alex Grinch had to say about last week's game.
You know, young guys are targets a lot of times, and then you got to find a way to make a play when the ball's in the air. And obviously, there's not many we made tonight, so we got to look at finding ways to put those guys in better situations. No, it is concerning. Hopefully, get guys healthy, and that is something that the coming weeks will kind of see where that goes when we get guys back. But in any event, I think there's some young guys we're excited about, and we got to do a better job putting them in the situation to be successful.
Keeping it on TCU, we're going to talk about last week's game. Will, what was your biggest takeaway from that game?
So my biggest takeaway, the Sooner run game is solid. Like Ben said last week, they got to keep giving Kennedy Brooks the ball, and that's what they did against the Horned Frogs, and it worked. He's got almost 700 rushing yards on the season. He's averaging almost 7 yards per carry on 99 attempts. He's coming off back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. He did take the year off last year, but he's still playing strong, and he's a solid part of this run offense. He's getting the ground game off the ground. They struggled a little bit in the early season, but behind Kennedy Brooks, it's getting better, and that really showed out against the Horned Frogs. The future is bright as well. Eric Gray is developing. Marcus Major is coming back. Gray has almost 300 yards and 66 attempts. He's getting more comfortable in this Sooner offense, and really, this ground game is looking solid.
Will, do you think that Kennedy Brooks can go for another 1,000 yards?
Oh, absolutely. yeah, they're halfway through the season. He's at almost 700 yards. Just mathematically, it's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely stood out. And you think that Eric Gray is also going to like play in that tandem with Kennedy Brooks?
he's been a good secondary behind Brooks getting into this offense. Obviously, he's more of a passing running back. You can throw to him, and he'll run that way. Brooks is more just on the ground, push through the line, go at it. But, you know, they're both finding their place in the offense. It's working out great.
Yeah.
He's definitely had that consistency.
I'm going to say Kennedy Brooks definitely has stood out a lot since putting Caleb Williams in. He's so aggressive. He's there, has the ball. He's been doing great since Caleb has been in.
Kennedy Brooks is so fun to watch, too. His production is absolutely fantastic.
It's a big
but
dude.
Will, Kaylee, I'm going to have to go with another guy. I got to say, Jaden Hazelwood, you guys. I mean, wow. Got him calling out for that hat trick, Hazelwood. Those 3 touchdowns in 6 receptions were key for OU to win there. He separated himself from those other receivers, from Mario Williams and Marvin Mims, and really showed his potential and what he's capable of. Yes, he's had limited flashy moments, but he's steady for making big catches. And he really is the best blocker on the team offensively, I would say. On Friday, Lincoln Riley told us that he told the offense that he would block for anybody that entire game, and he didn't care if he got the ball. Lo and behold, he had that opportunity, and he stood out, and he said he'd block all night long, and then ended up getting 3 touchdowns, a career high for him. He is all the way back. We didn't get to see him in 2020 with that injury, and now he's here to stay, and I think that's where Caleb Williams really comes in, and it's that Williams to Hazelwood connection where Rattler kind of connects to Mims, and we're kind of seeing that production better. But his offense was explosive, and it has been all season, and I think that's going to keep up with Jaden Hazelwood.
Yeah, he really stood out in that TCU game. Those 3 touchdowns, the only other 2 touchdowns he's had was against Western Carolina. So
that's what made me really happy about him, too, was because he said that he would block for his teammates all night long, and then his opportunity came. And if you keep running down the field, your opportunity will come at the right time.
And it was a fantastic game for him. He actually did say that was the best game he's had since high school, which is, I believe he's 3 years out from high school. So it's good for him. It's good for him to get into the offense.
Yeah, he had a great game. I'm going to go with the second half of the game. OU has been a very strong second half team lately. You saw it against Texas. You saw it again against TCU, especially with Texas. Against Texas, OU put up 35 points in the second half and held Texas to only 10 points in the second half. Against TCU, OU put up 28 points in the second half and held TCU to 17. They're just very strong in that second half. There's some pressure going on. I think maybe Lincoln Riley has a really strong halftime discussion in the locker room. But OU has been very strong when it comes to the pressure the second half. And honestly, you'd rather be a second half team than a first half team. So it's been exciting to see that.
Oh, no, it's good. It's good to see the Sooners playing a full second half. It'd be better to see them play a full game. We still have not seen that from them, but absolutely. I mean, strong second half performances. No idea what Lincoln says to them in the locker room, but it's got to be some powerful stuff.
I called them out last week for playing as a second half team against Texas. We saw that production, and it was just a lot quicker, and I think that is partially because of Caleb Williams, where Caleb Williams kind of gets right after it. So we saw a full game from TCU. They were a second half team, but they still played well in the first half.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see how they play against Kansas.
Yeah, when comparing TCU and Texas, obviously there was a different story with Texas, switching up the quarterbacks. But seeing Caleb Williams play a full game, was more dominant in the second, but still had a great first half.
How about Caleb Williams, you guys?
Ultimately,
we got to talk about it a little bit.
Hammer it down, Caleb Williams, the guy.
Absolutely.
Big time.
Absolutely. We're still a week away from Halloween, but Superman has been in Norman and hopefully shows up in Lawrence again.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
He has, and we'll see what happens today. And it's honestly looking like the 2018 offense. It is just explosive.
That's kind of a hot take.
Plays
That's
going.
kind of a hot take.
Using those weapons. It kind of reminds me of the Cowboys with how many offensive weapons they have. I see this now with OU using these weapons, using Hazelwood, using Mims, using Brooks, using all these weapons that you do have has been very good for them, and it's working out for them.
They're diversifying the offense, which is something that we've talked about earlier. Just what used to be a very conservative play call coming from the Sooners offense, they've really diversified. They've gone into other weapons that they have. Hazelwood is getting used. Brooks is getting used more. It's all developing better.
And I'm really excited to see that Brooks and Gray tandem. I want to see Eric Gray play in the backfield a little bit more than Brooks. I think they're going to save Brooks's legs for that next game against Tech.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of use Eric Gray a little bit more.
Well, they've got, this is a bit of a rest game for him, definitely.
And it's good to see that stronger offense, too. I mean, we saw last game, Gabe Burkich, great player, but missed that one field goal. And that could potentially
Doink.
hurt the Sooners
Unfortunate.
in some games. So it's good to see that the offense is working and we don't have to rely on.
Yeah.
I just can't.
Relying on the kicker is never good.
I can't get over how fun it is to watch Caleb Williams. Letting him just rip it down the field is just so much more exciting. It's so much more fun to watch. So I'm happy that I'm happy that Lincoln Riley made that call to play Caleb Williams over Spencer Rattler. I'm sure Rattler's a little bit butthurt about it, but he had 5 chances to stand out and prove himself, and he didn't.
Well, you could see him tomorrow. Or today, yeah, you could see him.
Could see him. Could see it happen.
I mean, maybe Ralph Rucker, too. Throw them all in there.
Yeah, throw in that third stringer.
I'm thinking Ralph Rucker gets some game time against Kansas.
Let's
talk about the defense.
Yeah, let's. We've hit on the offense a lot so far, so let's talk about the defense. What was the biggest takeaway from your defense?
Sure. So, I mean, the defense obviously struggled against TCU. I mentioned that the offense is looking back like it's 2018. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that against TCU, the defense looked like it was in 2018. They were just missing tackles. They were allowing a lot of yards. It was just simple techniques that they've had down last season. They had down early this season. They're slipping. Just because the offense is playing better doesn't mean the defense can slack.
That's exactly what I wanted to say. It's like OU cannot play as a complete team. When the defense is on, the offense is off. When the offense is on, the defense is off.
Gotta get that
I understand that we're missing Woody Washington and DTY. But the D-backs like Jaden Davis and Billy Bowman, they need to step up, and this is their time to shine and prove themselves. They were lazy in the coverage in the secondary. It just did not look good at all for OU. I understand you don't have that leadership out there. But still, it's time to step up and really do your job. The secondary is struggling.
Injuries have been a challenge.
This is where I think it's going to be a regrouping game for OU, and this is their chance to prove themselves. I keep using prove themselves, but seriously, prove themselves against Kansas and run up the score, get those 3 and outs too on defense.
Yeah, they definitely need to step it up. Those missed tackles are really big, and they need to get on that, because if not, that's how you lose the game. You need to
warning and save lives. One day, you'll teach your too. You'll tell others just like you why you became a meteorologist. But first, you have to become a student. And you'll do that right here at the National Weather Center.
This is you at OU. What will you learn? How will you excel? What path will you lead? Who will you impact? What will you do at OU?
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
this moment, it's as if time itself has stopped for us. The thought of being here with you. When two become one. I will never forget this day. Your opioid addiction affects more than just you. Get help. Visit ok.gov/health.
This is Tehani. She likes to play with her friends and has dreams of becoming a doctor. But when COVID-19 devastated her community, she was taken out of school and forced into marriage at just 12 years old. Tehani and thousands of other child brides are facing domestic abuse, female genital mutilation, and life-threatening pregnancies. And the pandemic is causing these numbers to rise. Too Young to Wed envisions a world where girls are free to simply be children and determine the course of their own lives. Will you help us?
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly and put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
Every day,
Millions of people are connecting.
and even though we're overcoming obstacles, watching each other's backs,
And banding together.
we should still make an effort
We should still make an
to
effort.
get to know each other.
On a deeper level.
Father,
Cosplayer,
Mentor.
actor.
it's time we take a step forward
It's time we take a step forward, come together,
and discover
how accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
Thanks, Mecca. A lot of
Good morning and welcome back to GameDayU, the award-winning student-produced pregame show here in Gaylord College at the University of Oklahoma. I'm your host, Mecca Thompson, and now this college football season has definitely been one for the books. But before we get into detail, let's toss it over to Dylan Rivera for the top 5 plays.
Thanks, Mecca. A lot of good catches this week, and we start with Marshall at UNT. Grant Wells dials up the deep ball and finds Stone Scarcelli for the one-handed grab. 1-9 is fired up. Wells took a shot on the throw, and Scarcelli makes the fantastic catch. The Thundering Herd trample North Texas, 49-21. In the ACC, Virginia and Duke. Southpaw Armstrong fires one right to Oklahoma State transfer Jelani Woods, who gets his hands on it, but makes the catch with his legs. How about that one? Let's watch it again in slow motion. It's a 50-50 ball all the way to the ground when Woods grips it down low. The Cavaliers got the massive win, 48-0. The Golden Gophers and the Cornhuskers of Nebraska. It's a post route to the corner, and it's Chris Ottman-Bell for 6. Get that defense off him, referee. Make the catch, get 2 feet down, and embarrass the defender in the process. Minnesota's boat keeps rowing as they pick up the 30-23 win. Virginia Tech and Pittsburgh. Braxton Burmeister to Tavion Robinson for the insane single-hand snatch. The Hokie faithful love it. Watch this one again. Stutter step, fade right, create room and seal, and make the top 5 play. This catch would end up being the only tutty on the day for VT, and they'd fall to the Panthers 28-7. And our top play from NC State and Boston College. Snap comes and it's a fly route for Devin Carter, and the QB's gonna find him. Watch how he makes the catch behind the defender's back. Get DB Elijah Jones a map because he is lost out there. The incredible concentration from Carter on this play gives him the top spot this week. Becca, that's all I've got. Back over to you.
Thanks, Dylan. Joined alongside me are our analysts, Carly Murray, Dakota Wapakichi, and Michael Martin. How are we doing, guys?
Good. Ready for college football?
Yes, yeah. I can agree. So there were some outstanding performances that stood out last week. Who are your surprising teams?
Well, my hero is Caleb Williams. He had a phenomenal game in the Red River Showdown, but whenever he played against TCU, it was clearly evident that he is the perfect role for this team. In his starting debut against TCU, Williams threw for 295 yards and 4 touchdowns and ran his fifth into the end zone. Williams was 18 of 23 and had 66 yards on the ground on 9 carries. Williams set records last Saturday. His 4 most TD passes were an OU freshman record, and he set the OU true freshman record for single game passing yards. It's clear that Caleb Williams is the glue to this team. When he's on the sidelines, he's in every huddle. Offense, defense, special teams. He is a perfect leader as a true freshman. I think that he's going to play a really important role for the rest of the season. I'm really excited to see him finish out under center.
Yeah, he's really electric. I really like him. And, you know, my guy, Jalen Warren, my hero of the week, he is amazing. The Oklahoma State Cowboy had 193 rushing yards against the Longhorn defense. He's doing amazing at just attacking the holes. I mean, like, the dude is just killer. Against the Longhorns, they were down 24-16 going into the fourth quarter, but he willed them back with 110 yards, giving the Cowboys the win. Now, on the year, Warren has 705 yards, averaging 4.8 yards per carry. He's taken over the first half of his senior season, and it doesn't show any signs of slowing down. The Cowboys wouldn't just be as good of a team if they didn't have him. I mean, with their defense and Warren in the backfield, they're looking like a scary team.
Yeah, for sure. No, Warren's a great running back, but I think my hero tops here is just a little bit with Eric Barriere here from Eastern Washington QB there. He was making it look easy, video game numbers. It looked like he was playing against rookie difficulty settings on like NCAA or Madden. Please bring back NCAA football, also EA. But 26 of 35 for 600 yards, 7 touchdowns, and then 26 yards and a touchdown on the ground is pretty impressive. I mean, 1 out of every passes that he threw, not completed, just threw in general, was for a touchdown. I'm no stats major, but I'm pretty sure that's all right. That's pretty good. But he outgained Idaho's entire team through the air, not even counting his rushing yards. But he just balled out of control and just dominated Idaho in every single way. I mean, he drove the team bus to the arena. He did the laundry. He had the game plan. He did everything. Dominated that game. True hero. And I don't know. I can't say much more than that about that guy. He's doing it everything.
Great. Well, although there were some outstanding performances, a week really never goes by where there aren't any people who fall short. So give me your zeros.
Casey Thompson did not execute in the second half against Oklahoma State. It was the same as the Red River Showdown. The offense just can't put together 4 good quarters of football. When the Longhorns were up 17-3 in the second quarter, Thompson threw an 85-yard pick six to Jason Taylor, and it changed the momentum of the game. After Bijan Robinson's 38-yard touchdown late in the fourth quarter, the offense just went downhill. Under constant pressure, Thompson had his first multiple turnover game. He finished the game 15-27 for 179 yards and completed only 1 pass of more than 5 yards in the second half of the game. That was Thompson's worst performance since taking over the starting job in the third game. Thompson has been in this program for 4 years now. He was under Sam Ehlinger. He knows his program. He knows his team. I don't understand why he had such a poor performance against Oklahoma State at home in Austin.
For sure. I mean, I totally agree and everything like that. And maybe it was like a coaching thing with Casey Thompson, but I do know that my zero of the week is a coach, Dan Mullen, Florida head coach. He and the Gators just did not look great against LSU. I mean, they had several turnovers. They had 4 turnovers just in interceptions from the quarterbacks. Going into the season, they were preseason ranked 13th. They looked solid in the beginning of the year, and I said that if anyone was going to give Alabama some trouble, it would be the Gators. And they did that, but now they're just looking really bad. They allowed 321 yards on the ground. It's got to be a culture issue. Mullen has to be that coach, and he has to be better because last Saturday's effort was just unacceptable. I mean, the Gators last week looked like the Gators against Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl last year. I mean, they were just really bad.
No, for sure. I mean, it's definitely disappointing to have a loss like that. But speaking of disappointing, I have Iowa QB Spencer Petras, who went 17 of 32 for 195 yards with 4 picks, which is pretty hard to do. I mean, they're the number 2 ranked team in the nation for that game. They lose to Purdue. But you're a game manager. Like, you're not even asked to do a lot. All we ask is that you don't lose us the game, which is what he immediately did. Finally, a game where they need him to play well, and he can't do that. I mean, that's the definition of a zero. Actually, not even a zero. He's a negative. Those 4 picks down the stretch, whenever they're really trying to come back, they're driving down the field, and he just killed them over and over and over and just got them off the field for Purdue to keep on putting points on them and get the upset win. But Iowa, this was supposed to be a dream season for them. They beat Iowa State. You know, they think that they're maybe kings of the Big Ten this year, but just disappointment all around.
Huge disappointments. I mean, I have to agree with both of you. I was really shocked to see Oklahoma State. I mean, beating Texas like that, you would think that after the Red River Showdown they would have come back, but they just didn't. And then same with Florida. I mean, so sad to see them fall to LSU. I mean, LSU hasn't been playing the best this season, so seeing that happen, it's just, it was a shock. So coming up, our analysts will make their midseason playoff predictions. Stick around.
Track the storms, send out the warning, and save lives. One day, you'll teach here too. You'll tell others just like you why you became a meteorologist. But first, you have to become a student. And you'll do that right here at the National Weather Center.
It just takes a moment to spread from one person to another. So how do you break the germ cycle? Wash your hands often and always after coughing, sneezing, handling food, and going to the bathroom. Lather the front, back, and in between for at least 20 seconds. If there's no soap or water available, use a hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol. Regularly disinfect common surfaces, including your phone. These small things can help break the germ cycle.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly and put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at Feeding America.
The 2018 Heisman Trophy is awarded to Kyler Murray of Oklahoma University.
The Heisman Memorial Trophy is the highest honor that can be awarded to an American college football player.
This is unbelievable for me, you know, being up here among these greats. It's something that words can't even describe unless it's them.
Each year in early January, the Heisman Trust gives the award to the country's most outstanding player in what is normally an emotional ceremony.
I chased my dreams. Wouldn't be here without you. Love you.
Now OU is very familiar with the Heisman Trophy, as they are tied with both Ohio State and Notre Dame for the most recipients by a single program with 7 winners each.
Thank you.
You know how I feel. Boomer, baby. Boomer. Way to represent. Good luck. Way to represent.
Oklahoma's first Heisman Trophy winner dates back to 1952 with Billy Vessels. The Sooner next awarded the trophy was Steve Owens in 1969, followed by Billy Sims in 1978, Jason White in 2003, Sam Bradford in 2008, Baker Mayfield in 2017, and the most recent Sooner awarded the coveted trophy was Kyler Murray in 2018.
This is crazy. This is an honor. Something that, I'll never forget and something I'll always cherish for the rest of my life.
That is not even including the Sooners who made it to the finalists for the award in recent years, including stars Adrian Peterson, Dede Westbrook, and Jalen Hurts. Here I'm standing at Heisman Park at OU. This is where the university honors their Heisman Trophy winners with statues right outside of the stadium. Heisman Park was constructed in 2005. The park initially showcased Oklahoma's first 2 Heisman winners and went on to construct the rest. Currently, the university is working on statues for their most recent winners, Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray. And you may be wondering what exactly is taking so long. Well, these statues stand more than a dozen feet high and cost nearly $90,000 each. Now here's a question many Oklahoma fans are left asking. Can their new QB1, Caleb Williams, win the 2021 Heisman Trophy? Well, it is a possibility for the true freshman, but because of his late start to this season, he has little to no room for error to be in the race for that trophy. Well, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see who wins the 2021 Heisman Trophy. I'm Katie Arata, reporting from Heisman Park.
Welcome back to Game Day U. It's the 4th segment of the show, which means it's time for 4th and 4. Carly, give me your most surprising team.
Well, my most surprising team is Clemson. For the last 6 years, they've been college football playoff contenders, but this year, that is just not the case. Their offense is terrible and not productive. Their offensive coordinator, Tony Elliott, even admitted that he doesn't know their offensive identity. After 6 games, that's unacceptable. The Tigers are dead last in scoring in the ACC, next to last in total offense, literally 10.5 yards ahead of the last place team, and 12th out of 14 teams in pass offense. All 5 games the Tigers have played against FBS competition have been decided by 1 score. Clemson's defense, on the other hand, has been really, really good. They have it together. They've allowed 5 offensive touchdowns this season, which is the second fewest in the country. The defense has forced a turnover in 5 of 6 games played this season. I think we all didn't expect Clemson's offense to be this terrible this year. I think that just proves how much Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne had on this team. They had a really important impact, and now they're doing great things on the Jags together.
For sure. I'm going to go in a total opposite direction and just head towards the north and go on the good side. Ann Arbor, Michigan is getting really excited right now. They have a really tough schedule going into it, but Jim Harbaugh must be thanking the Wolverines quarterback, Cade McNamara, and running back Blake Corum for their success. McNamara has almost 1,000 passing yards on the season, and Corum is running all over opposing defenses. He has 610 yards on the season, 97 attempts, averaging 6.3 yards per carry. That's pretty good, and Michigan has really impressed me because they were unranked in preseason rankings, but now they're sitting at number 6 going into week 8. So it's looking like this might have been, it was looking like this might have been Harbaugh's last season at the helm if he didn't produce, but they just look really good. They got a tough schedule over the next month with Penn State, Michigan State, and Ohio State, but I think they're looking really good. It's great.
That's a good pick. Carly went with something negative. You went with something positive. I'll have to be negative too. But I've got Iowa State. Just really disappointing. Last year they went into the season thinking, or going into this season, they thought that they might have their best team in school history, and it's been just nothing but disappointment. Of course, they lose to Iowa, which is, nothing to be super upset about. Iowa's a great team. Then they lose to Baylor. But if this is the best team in school history, that's just not good enough. You have guys like Breece Hall, Brock Purdy, Charlie Kolar all coming back. And they even wanted to contend for a Big 12 championship, which they haven't won a conference championship in over 100 years. That's a long time. But, it's just so disappointing if you're an Iowa State fan that you can have a great team like this and it still disappoints because in Ames, you're not guaranteed this many great teams.
Right. I think Iowa State had a really slow start, but they're finally that competitive football team we were expecting to see in August. Purdy is 3rd nationally with a 73.9% completion rate, and he's been over 80% 3 times this season. So I think they're really going to improve. So hopefully they do a lot better today against Oklahoma State.
And going back to your point about Clemson, I mean, that's extremely shocking. It just shows how much the offense truly relies on their quarterback. I mean, Trevor was there, all 4 years, and they were just solid. But you would think that they would be a little bit more resilient, kind of like Alabama. They lose a quarterback every, 2 to 3 years, and they're able to keep up with their offense every year, winning these big games, these national championships. And I'm just really surprised that Clemson's struggling. So, yeah. And so now the news that broke earlier this week about the LSU Tigers head coach came at such a shock to me, and I'm sure many others. Do you guys think Coach O is leaving Baton Rouge too soon?
I don't think it's too soon. Like you said, in 2019, LSU won the national championship. Since then, Coach O has been 9-8 with the Tigers. He just hasn't been that great. You know, he had a generational talented quarterback in Joe Burrow in 2019, 2 first-round draft picks and wide receiver Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. I think a lot of credit goes to his at-the-time offensive coordinators Joe Brady. Now he's excelling in Carolina, helping Sam Darnold resurrect his career. And credit goes to his at-the-time defensive coordinator Dave Aranda, who is now really getting things going at Baylor. They're now 5-1. After they left, Coach O hired first-time coordinators. You're at LSU. You have one of the best budgets in the country. So many coaches would love to be a coach at LSU. I don't understand why he would hire first-time coordinators. You know, but I think a lot of his off-the-field behavior has to do with it. You know, there's rumors about, him bringing women around the facilities after him and his wife got divorced, the Title IX scandal, and how players weren't in favor of how he was handling racial injustice in 2020. I just think a lot of factors played into him being, let go at the end of the season. I think it was a smart call of Scott Woodward to let him go, but I think Lane Kiffin is probably the best replacement for him. He has SEC ties. He's a really great offensive coordinator and great recruiter. I think that he'll be great for the LSU Tigers.
Yeah, I understand. He had a lot of things going on off the field, but on the field, I think he's a really good coach. I mean, really, he puts in the work. He makes his players work hard. And that Bayou bully, I mean, it's going to be sad not seeing him say "Go Tigers" on a Saturday. But I mean, on the year, he's not doing amazing this year or last year. But just this past Saturday, he put up an amazing fight against the Florida Gators. I mean, he just beat the number 20 ranked team in the nation. It's a shame that he's leaving. It's been a rough season, but let's not forget that 2019 championship was not overnight. In 2018, Joe Burrow had 2,894 passing yards. And then in 2019, Joe Burrow went off and had 5,671 passing yards. It takes time and practice, and Coach O is the kind of coach you want to work for and you want to go hard for. So I think it's too soon. I mean, really, I don't know who. I mean, I'm sure there are great candidates, but he's a really good coach. He just gets people to work.
I think he's a great leader. I don't know if he's a great coach. A lot of those things you were talking about, I think a lot of the credit should actually go to Joe Brady, because in terms of whenever their offense finally took off, it was him being the guy calling all the plays. Of course, they had an incredibly historic offense. All 11 starters from that national championship team are in the NFL right now, including guys like Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Thaddeus Moss, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Joe Brady and Joe Burrow, the two Joes, were the reason that team succeeded. And I think, we talked about new hires. Why not bring Joe Brady back? I mean, he was the guy who made it all happen. Like I said, Carly talked about that he's reviving Sam Darnold's career, and if you can revive Sam Darnold, then I think that you have a pretty good chance to win at LSU. But Ed Orgeron, like I mentioned, is a great leader, not necessarily a great coach. When you're at LSU, when you have that budget, when you have that recruiting base, when you have all that natural talent just all around you, when you're in the SEC, when you're a team that historic as a blue blood, you need to be better.
I'm going to have to agree. I mean, I do think it was too soon. I mean, because like you said, losing 11 starters, that's a lot of people and that's a lot of players. And I mean, he did a great job of getting tons of recruits, especially after the 2019 season. So I think they're just going to have to rebuild some. I mean, it's only been, a couple years. So I think they should have given it just a little bit of time.
Yeah, well, I think in the state of Louisiana, you're the only big university. You can pull all of those Louisiana recruits. They all want to play at LSU. That's their dream growing up, So he's at the right place, or LSU's the right place to grab recruits and get them. I mean, you can even go to Texas to get some. So I think he does have the high caliber players, and they should have performed better this past year.
Yeah, and you saw LSU, like I keep talking about, their offense launched them into being a national championship contender. We all know that they have guys on defense who can play, who can get stops. But what changed it for them, what got them over the hump, is the fact that they could put up points. And since Joe Brady and Joe Burrow have left, they've gone back to being regular LSU who struggles to put up points.
So who do you two see being a good replacement for Ed Orgeron?
Joe Brady, like I said, I mean, just coming back from the Panthers and leading this offense again, getting a bunch of high-powered athletes and guys who can throw the ball around and run and get into space. I like Joe Brady.
Yeah, I really like Lane Kiffin. Like I said, those SEC ties. He was Alabama's offensive coordinator from 2014 to 2016. He used to be at Tennessee. I think Lane Kiffin's the best guy for the job.
Right, so now we're going to take it out of the South, and going up north. Who do we see being the Big Ten champion?
I have the Penn State Nittany Lions as the Big Ten champs. I think they're a really solid team, the most complete team in the Big Ten. Sean Clifford got hurt in Week 6 against Iowa, but he had Week 7 to rest because of the bye week, and he's been practicing, so I think he'll be ready to play against Illinois today. Clifford is obviously the glue to that offense. I think if he didn't get hurt against Iowa, he would have won that game for the Nittany Lions. Wide receiver Jahan Dotson has 63 targets without a drop. That is the most in college football. He's without a doubt one of the best and sure-handed receivers in the country. Penn State defense is first in the Big Ten and fourth in FBS, allowing only 13.8 points per game. Penn State's defense is fast and athletic, and they're built to defend the spread. Most teams pressure on 3rd and long, and on 3rd and short, you pack the box. Defensive coordinator Brent Pry is an aggressive play caller who pressures on every down. Pry isn't afraid to do that with this team. I think Penn State is the more solid team all around. Iowa State, they don't have a great offense. Ohio State is kind of coming back. I'm not all that confident about them, but I really like what I'm seeing from Penn State, and I think they're capable of winning the Big Ten.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll be honest with y'all. I had two teams going into this year that I was not expecting greatness from, and that was Clemson and Ohio State. But Ohio State has proven me wrong. Like I said, wasn't sold, but C.J. Stroud, that quarterback, is just going crazy this year. I mean, he has over 1,000 yards. He's ranked 8th in the nation for total touchdowns on 1,700 yards. And head coach Ryan Day, I don't think he has a thing to worry about in the Big Ten Conference. He's got the best team in Columbus, Ohio. That's a tough place to play. They got 5 games left in the season. Definitely 3 ranked teams to play against. You got Michigan, Penn State, and Michigan State. So it's a tough season they got going on left. But, I mean, Ohio State is that team. They are that team. They got 3 receivers with over 450 receiving yards on the season. I mean, they are that team. Penn State, great team. Michigan, great team. Michigan State, great team. But Ohio State, amazing team. So I don't think there's anyone that can just compete with them, really.
Don't get me wrong. Those are 2 pretty good picks. They're just not going to win the Big Ten. I mean, if there was some incredible team, they wouldn't have lost to Oregon. But we can get back to it. But I've got Michigan State, Kenneth Walker III, 997 rushing yards. We're not even midway through the season on 6.6 yards per carry and 9 touchdowns. A sneaky Heisman candidate, and I know it's not cool to give the Heisman to running backs anymore. But I think we should make an exception for a guy like this who's putting up big stats on a team who's winning. I mean, I'm the only person up here, I think, of the Big Ten teams who has an undefeated team picked. And I think that puts him and Michigan State in firm position at the top for now until they lose. They're a team who never is going to beat themselves. They get a brand new coach in Mel Tucker who takes over after the team went 2-5 last year and just completely turned them around. And I anticipate probably not that they'll go undefeated, but they'll split the matchup between Penn State and Ohio State and end up winning the Big Ten championship.
So today, do you think Michigan State can beat Michigan?
Yes. It's less than I don't believe in Michigan, as we all know. Michigan, just not very creative offensively. They still have the same problems. I don't know that they've really played anyone yet. But Michigan State, on the other hand, is somebody that I believe in. And on top of that, Jim Harbaugh just straight up doesn't beat his rivals.
Yeah, but he's in his year where he has to prove himself. You don't think he's going
to prove a year for 8 years or something like that?
Their run game has really, really improved this year. I know the passing game is weak, but the run game is really good. They're on the right track. I think he definitely saved his job this season. That's all I'm going to say.
No, they're definitely on the right track, but that doesn't mean that you get to win the Big Ten.
Yeah, and then circling back to what you said about that Oregon game, I mean, yes, it was a loss. They are, they have 1 loss on the season, but 1 loss does not mean they aren't a team that isn't good. I mean, they learned from it. Oregon's a good team. I think they really can destroy Michigan State, but not like destroy, but they can do it. They can go in there and just kill them.
No, they're a good team, but I mean, you said they were incredible, and I don't think incredible teams go out there and lose whenever Oregon doesn't even have their best player on Kayvon Thibodeau.
I feel like it's sort of a rivalry, too. I mean, Michigan and Michigan State, we all know how these big rivalry games can go. So, I mean, I think it could go both ways. I mean, I guess you could say I believe in both of them. But as we said earlier, we all know this college football season has been like no other. So give me your playoff predictions.
Well, at the 1 seed, I have Georgia. Their defense is just amazing. Through 7 games, UGA's defense has allowed just 39 points, giving up an average of 5.5 points per game. Stetson Bennett is doing a great job filling in for JT Daniels. I wouldn't go back to JT Daniels if I was Kirby Smart, just with how well this team is playing. Bennett is efficient. His play action passes are accurate. He's a great athlete who can run the football. At the 2 seed, I have Oklahoma with Caleb Williams at the helm. I think Oklahoma's offense is back to where it used to be in past years. Williams' ability to run the football makes the offense better. Against TCU and Texas, Kennedy Brooks has run for more yards than he did in the 5 previous games. When Oklahoma can run the football, they're more explosive. At the 3 seed, I have Cincy. There won't be a team in the Big Ten that goes undefeated, and Clemson has 2 losses. I think that allows them a spot. Cincinnati's averaging 43.5 points per game, which is 6 in FBS. Cincy doesn't have any weak links, not to mention Cincy beat Notre Dame in South Bend at week 4, and last year Cincy beat Georgia in the Peach Bowl. I know that was last year, it's a new year, but still, those are 2 big wins against high caliber teams. And Alabama at the 4 seed, I honestly can't imagine a college football playoff without Alabama. You know, I like to call it the Alabama Invitational Tournament. 3 different teams are at the college football playoff with Alabama every year, so yeah, that's my college football playoff prediction.
Yeah, I definitely don't agree with that. I mean, OU was just an amazing team last Saturday. We saw a different team starting with Texas and then moving into that last week game. I mean, Caleb Williams made them really electric, like you said earlier. They're going to win out on the conference. I mean, their last matchup that is really tough is going to be Oklahoma State, and Bedlam will be fun, but they won't be able to keep up. OSU just doesn't have the tools on the offense to keep up with OU's offense. So the soon-to-be SEC team will definitely make the playoffs. Number 1, I got. And then Cincy, I mean, they're kind of tricky to judge. I mean, they look amazing, but the conference is just, I mean, it's just like, really, Bama is going to go in. They're going to beat Georgia in the SEC championship game. And, yes, they have a loss on the year, that Texas A&M, unranked, bad loss. But it's something they can learn from. I mean, Nick Saban is that kind of guy. He's the coach that is just – he's the best coach we have in college football. And Georgia, they got a great defense. But I know their offense just went off this last week, kind of. But, I mean, really, against a team like Alabama, are they going to be able to do that? I'm just questioning, like, if JT Daniels and all them are really just going to go off. So, dropping to 4, I mean, that's a hot take, but I got it. I mean, like, Georgia – I mean, I know they're number 1, but, man, I don't know if they're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, we're going to have to unpack that real quick. Georgia will not beat the number 4 seed. Are you kidding me? That defense is electric. They can stop anybody. They've shut out 2 teams this season. Bryce Young is a really young quarterback. I know, ironic. I don't think that he stands a chance against Georgia's defense.
No, I think he does. He's got Nick Saban on the sideline making some calls, and Bryce Young.
He had a terrible game against Texas A&M. You think he stands a chance against Georgia?
What happened the next week? The dude went off. He went absolutely off. Alabama's just overall is just a better team.
But
we know this.
Consistency, though. Sorry to interrupt you, but Alabama does not lose. I mean, we all know that. So, I mean, that loss against Texas A&M, and like you said, Georgia is absolutely explosive this year. I feel like in the past years, probably not, but this year, strong chance.
I think y'all are holding out. I know we all hold Alabama to a high standard, but 1 loss, guys? I mean, literally, they're going to learn from this, just like Ohio State learned from Oregon. They're literally going to move on. They're going to be a better team going into the playoffs. I mean, SEC championship game, it's really important. They're going to win that game. I've got them. I will back that 100%.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
No, that is just not going to happen. I've got Georgia number 1. I mean, they've got the best defense in college football. You don't have to score a bunch of points when you're holding people to 10 and 14 points a game. This Georgia team reminds me a lot of the 2017 Rose Bowl team. I know that's a hard thing to think about, but they have a great run game, really great defense. They have a quarterback who's a game manager, and then they have some really athletic receivers who they can throw the ball up to. 2, I've got OU, same reasons as Carly. I really think that Caleb Williams changes everything for this team. The offenses looked explosive, and then just roster-wise, this is the best top to bottom 53-man roster Lincoln Riley has had at OU, and probably the best offensive and defensive team OU has had since 2008 with Sam Bradford, Gerald McCoy, and all those guys. And then 3rd, Cincinnati. Credit to them, they're taking care of business. They've beaten the 2 really big games on their. They've beaten the 2 big teams on their schedule. at Indiana and at Notre Dame. So they're just taking care of business. They should be in. And then I actually have my Big Ten team in the playoff because I believe in them. Unlike you guys picked them and just didn't believe in them. But I've got Michigan State for the same reasons like I've talked about. I think that they are a team who doesn't beat themselves. They're in a great position. They have a solid run game. They have a good defense. Their coach really has them energized and playing well. But those are my 4.
So you guys all had Cincy in your playoff predictions, but do they have it in them to win the title? What do y'all think?
No.
No.
No, their conference is not giving them such a challenge to go up against going into the playoffs. I mean, if you got to play a team like Georgia, who I will give, their defense is amazing. You got to play a team like Georgia, not going to happen. Oklahoma, I mean, our defense has gotten a lot better, and our offense is just absolutely electric. So I just know the OU offense and defense is just going to kill it against them. So Cincinnati really does not have a chance in the playoffs.
Yeah, imagining Cincinnati up against Georgia. Georgia's defense is going to come for Desmond Ridder. Yeah. I don't know. I think they definitely deserve to be in the college football playoff. They did earn that spot, but I don't think they have a chance to win the national championship.
No, they deserve to be in it, and they deserve a chance to play. But I'm with Carly and Dakota. I don't think they really have a chance. I mean, they're really in it as kind of a test subject to see if non-Power 5 teams can really compete. And this will be a good test to see what happens. But I don't think they have the dynamic athletes and really the offense to keep up with a lot of these teams. Because, I mean, other than Georgia, but they're going to lock you down. But some of these other teams, they're going to put 50 on you. And can you keep up?
Yeah, and something that I saw in your top 4, you have Michigan State at 4. I mean, I know that the SEC championship is going to be really important because if Georgia wins, Alabama's not going to make it, right? I have them winning that game, but if Georgia wins, Alabama's not going to make it. Who goes into that 4? I mean, the schedule for Big Ten over the next month and like a week is going to be insane. I mean, Michigan State still has Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State. It's going to be really tough.
No one said it's going to be easy. It's never easy to get to the college football playoffs, but I see them winning 2 out of 3 of those. And like you mentioned, in the SEC, it's just kind of those teams cutting each other from underneath and just knocking each other out. And I think that Georgia keeps Alabama out. I don't think Alabama comes back and gets this one. You know, Jimbo Fisher was the first assistant to get a win over Nick Saban, former assistant. And I think that Kirby Smart's going to do it again this year.
Right, I agree. So when we return, our remote team will be telling you what to watch for, doing some call-outs, and giving you their final score predictions. You don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
That was really long.
I was just going to say.
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
How prepared is your family if a tornado shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a hurricane? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking, let's go. You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes. Make a plan today.
Jayhawks, Sooners kicking off soon. We got to get down to the field soon. So let's talk about what to expect for this game, Sooners, Jayhawks. What can we see?
Well, I've already kind of touched on this, but there's really not a whole lot, except the Kansas secondary with Kenny Logan Jr. He's the shining star on this Jayhawks team, and I say that it's not very bright. He's a star, but he's not very bright. He is the best part about Kansas. The defensive line, they're not getting to the QB. They've got 3 sacks on the year. Overall, this secondary, the tackles, are evenly distributed. This secondary, they are the strongest part of this defense. And a very interesting statistic. Talking about interceptions, Kansas is pretty equivalent to OU. OU has 3 interceptions on the season. Kansas has 2. So, they're a pretty strong part of this team that is honestly not a very strong team, but they shine out.
I feel like you gave a lot of backhanded compliments.
Yeah, a little bit of backhand.
I am, absolutely.
100%.
That's what you can give.
But this is what I have to say, what to watch for is this is the time for OU to win big. We have only seen them win by 21 points or less to an FBS opponent. Yes, it's Kansas, but this is where OU's depth should come in. I want to see Drake Stoops and Mario Williams out wide. The Sooners have outscored their opponents 90-44. Let's rack that up to 110-120. I want to see it. It's a Caleb Williams era. This team looks more and more explosive, and his willingness to let it rip results in defensive penalties and results in positive yards for OU. Minus Western Carolina, OU has only widened that gap by 21 points, and that's something that isn't too hot for a number 2 ranked Oklahoma team, and that's what we need to see. They need to keep that comfortable lead and keep expanding it and widening that gap, you guys, especially against Kansas. Yeah, it's Kansas, but it's also a Big 12 opponent, and that's going to also be a resume builder.
Upsets happen, too.
Upsets do happen.
The Sooners don't have luck in the state of Kansas.
No, they don't. Will, you touched on this a little bit, talking about the quarterback. Jason Bean is mobile. I don't only love this kid for his last name, but I love this kid for his run game. He's ran for 305 yards, averaging 4.7 per carry, and has 2 rushing touchdowns. Yes, that might not seem super impressive, but we're talking about Kansas. They have been utilizing this weapon, and they need to keep utilizing him. 2 interceptions, he can run, he has a lot of potential, and we're going to see that. I don't think he'll be on the field that much with this game. I think it's going to be a very strong OU offensive game, but when he's on the field, the defense for OU needs to look out for him because he can scramble. He finds those holes and breaks away. He's going to get at least 1 good run in this game.
But how do you think he's going to match up against OU's front 7?
Not well. You talk about potential. I think this Kansas team has a lot of potential. Do they execute?
Jeez, you guys, come on now.
No,
Let's
they're not
be
going to
realistic
execute
here.
on the potential. Every
hope.
team has
I have
potential.
hope.
This is college football. Anything can happen. That's my phrase for this week.
Absolutely, anything can happen, but Kansas has basketball.
Oh, yeah, they do.
So they can just stick to basketball. I have said this every single time that I've been on GameDayU when OU plays Kansas, is that they're a basketball school, and that's what they're centered around. They're not a football school, and that's why I don't want to give them credit. They are, time and time again, they've had head coaches come in and out. It's like a revolving door.
I feel bad for them. They've been nice to us.
I also feel
on our
bad
visit
for them,
here in
but
Lawrence. They've
we
been
need an
nice,
unbiased
trying to be
opinion.
nice.
We need an unbiased opinion here because
fair.
we are journalists, and that's what we need to go with.
They've had a lot of tough beatings, too, so I think that will hinder them a lot playing OU. They still have some big games in the future. I think they're definitely going to be slowed down, but Jason Bean can run, and we're going to see him run.
I want to see him scramble around a little bit.
Watch my video.
Do a little run. Yeah, exactly. Try and run away from Perry on. It'll work. It'll work.
Nick Bonino's not going to get you. Keep going, buddy.
He'll figure it out. He'll figure it out.
No, I think this is a good. I've said this before. I said this about Western Carolina. It was a tune-up game for the Sooners. This is absolutely a tune-up game. This is how you solidify the offense behind Caleb. It's going to be good.
Yeah. Well, focusing on the Sooners, who is your call-out for this game?
So, I've called him out before. I called him out actually for Western Carolina, speaking of that game. But I'm going with Jeremiah Hall. Now, this is a good call-out. I called you out. For Western Carolina, I said, you're a leader on the team. You're one of the old heads. You got to produce on the field. And you know what? He has since then. Since Western Carolina, he's had 11 receptions for 116 yards, 3 touchdowns for this halfback tight end position he's in. That's pretty solid. You know, he's stepping up as the leader that he talked about being in the preseason when I talked to him about this. He's producing well, he's getting the guys motivated, and he has results on the field.
He's
Good
connected
work.
well, too, with both Spencer and Caleb, which is very nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that, and I think that he has been a leader. But somebody else that's been a leader is Austin Stogner. Hey, man.
Tight ends.
Last time that you saw KU, you had a life-threatening injury. And I know this is going to have a little bit of PTSD on you, but I believe in you. You need to go out there and show your resilience and show this stadium what you can do. I know it's scary. Your leg, didn't realize how bad that was until I saw that feature on Big Noon Saturday. And wow, you made me cry. And I want to see you get the ball more, get those opportunities, have Williams get the ball to you. But what you need to do is make yourself open and run down the field. Your opportunity will come. Austin Stogner, I believe in you.
Yeah, I feel a little left out with these tight end takes.
Things from both of us.
But I'm going to go with Brian Asamoah. He has been stepping up lately, and he needs his credit. This man has 26 solo tackles, and 14 of those have been in the past 2 games. It's time for him to get that credit. He's been showing up for the Sooners, filling in some of those holes that the defense needs without those strong players being out for injuries. So keep it up. Everyone start giving him credit because he has really stepped it up these past 2 weeks.
Brian Asamoah, I think, has also kind of been that silent killer that people kind of forget about. The fans need to recognize him and give him that recognition for filling in those pockets and shutting down the run game.
Yeah. People have quiet seasons. That's okay.
Yeah. Well, what's not going to be quiet is this stadium in a couple hours. What do we think the score prediction is going to be?
Well, I'm going to have to go 63-14 OU, and I've got 2 words to explain why. It's Kansas. I've been nice to him. I've been nice to him through the show, but ultimately, OU's going to stomp all over the Jayhawks. I've mentioned they're going to be able to tune up an injured offense. The Sooners are back in their explosive offensive form. Easy money on a big blowout.
What you got?
Going similar to you, a little bit lower, though, 56-21. 1 point to make is that Riley's offense is no match for this week defense. That's all I have to say, 56-21.
Yeah, I'm been the nicest to Kansas, but I'm going with 66-10 OU. That offense is going to be dominant. Kansas can get a little bit there, but not much. OU is really going to hold them to maybe a touchdown, field goal kind of action, and OU's just going to run away with the ball.
Yeah, OU and Kansas, this is going to be a fun matchup. This stadium is about to be electric. I'm excited to see it.
Hopefully.
Back in Kansas, we're
We'll
excited.
have to see. We'll be down there in a second.
Family weekend.
Yeah, it's family weekend too. That's all the time we have for now. Got to get to the game. We're going to toss it back to the studio team to talk about all the big games and their upset picks for this week.
One day, this will be your office. You'll track the storms, send out the warning, and save lives. One day, you'll teach here too. You'll tell others just like you why you became a meteorologist. But first, you have to become a student. And you'll do that right here at the National Weather Center.
This is you at OU. What will you learn? How will you excel? What path will you lead? Who will you impact? What will you do at OU?
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse, walk a mile in my shoes.
The third-ranked Oklahoma Sooners head to Lawrence to take on the Kansas Jayhawks this Saturday with an 11 a.m. kickoff, and unfortunately the weather will not cooperate with us this weekend. It'll be in the mid-60s throughout the game and rainy conditions throughout the afternoon, becoming potentially severe by the end of the game. It'll be raining raindrops, and it will also be raining touchdowns between the Sooners and the Jayhawks.
Welcome back to GameDayU. We have some more time to discuss some Big 12 questions. First, Texas has suffered 2 straight losses. What is wrong with the Longhorns?
Well, I think second half adjustment is a really big problem. They start out fast and they don't adjust as the game goes on. Other teams always figure out a way to slow them down. Their run defense is also bad late in the game. I don't know, they always have a really, really good first half, but when the second half comes, they crumble. The offense can't get it together, the defense falls apart, and that's disappointing considering they have a great running back in Bijan Robinson who can clearly just run over everybody. I'm not sure. I think Texas is on the way back with Steve Sarkisian as their head coach, but I mean, this year, they almost beat OU in the Red River Showdown. They almost beat Oklahoma State, and then they blew it in the second half in both games.
Yeah, I agree. Steve Sarkisian, he's doing all right, but he's not doing the greatest. Going into the second half, it's like they just go in and have fun, maybe laugh a little, enjoy their time in the locker room. Like, man, they just came out 2 straight games, cannot figure it out in the second half. And I think Steve Sarkisian is really the problem. I was telling my grandpa in the beginning of the year that, Hudson Card should not be starting. Then they put in Casey Thompson. Finally, he helped it out. What's the next problem? Steve Sarkisian needs to figure that out because he's just not doing well for Texas. I know it's his first year, and cut him some break because it's a rebuilding year, but, come on. I mean, he's the coach of a quote-unquote blue blood. I mean, you got to do better.
Yeah, I mean, like you talked about, it's the first year of a rebuild. I mean, he's still picking up all the trash that Tom Herman left around on campus and all the bad things that he did, just hurting the program. But honestly, if he wants to help himself, just hand it off to Bijan. It's that simple. He's really good. Hudson Card and Casey Thompson, though, I think you're going to see in the next couple of recruiting cycles with Steve Sarkisian, he'll get his quarterback. Not the guy who was just there, who was the incumbent, who was just on campus, but he'll get the guy who plays his system, who knows his schemes, who can do all the things that he wants him to do. Just like you've seen at OU with Lincoln Riley. Whenever he has his quarterback who can run his system the way he likes, OU's pretty good, and I think Texas can be that good too.
I think they're just getting too comfortable, honestly, after the second half. I mean, and I think Bijan is tired. Like, with him constantly just getting the ball all of the time, I mean, what is the offense doing to help him? I mean, he's getting worn out time after time. And then Steve Sarkisian in the Red River Showdown, how can you be up almost 30 points and have a team come back like that? I mean, that's just not good coaching. He should have been in the locker room getting it together. You have to stay alive. So I think Steve Sarkisian and then them just relying on Bijan all the time. The offense needs to definitely step up and get the whole line alive.
Yeah, and the thing is with your point with Bijan, I think the only way Texas can win with Bijan like that, he gets tired and everything, and he's gonna get beat up. But does he have to run the ball 60 times a game just to win?
Might. I mean, they talk about all gas, no brakes, but there is a different way of playing where, we've seen a lot of teams play against OU, where you play ball control, where you play clock, where you play time. Texas can do that. You have maybe the best running back in the entire country. Play ball control, give your defense some time to breathe, and don't make them go out there and stop these high-powered offenses every time and play 50, 60, 70 70 plays, not possessions. That'd be wild. But, yeah, I think Texas is in a fixable situation. I think Sarkisian is going to be the guy who turns this around.
Okay, so the Cyclones were the preseason favorites to contend with in the Sooners, but they haven't lived up to what the billing is. Can Iowa State still make the conference championship?
I don't know. They had that one loss to Baylor, and Baylor played really good. Baylor looks great right now. Dave Aranda's doing really great things with the Bears. I'm honestly not sure, and I think it'll be interesting to see how they play against Oklahoma State today. They didn't start out very explosive like we thought that they were going to be, but they've been playing better. Last week, Breece Hall had a great game against K-State. Hall ran for a career-high 197 yards and has been over 100 yards for 4 straight games. The Cyclones just need to get Breece Hall going to take the pressure off of Purdy. I think they're on the right track. I think it'll be interesting to see how they play today, and then I think that's when I'll be able to give a final decision on whether or not they can make it to the Big 12 championship.
Oh yeah, for sure. Is like today is like a really important game for Iowa State, because like this is like, okay, we're going to make the Big 12 championships if we can, actually contend with a team who's ranked top 10. So, I mean, this game against OSU, really important. Brock Purdy, Breece Hall, they got to show up today. I mean, they're in Ames, Iowa. Like, it's a home game for them. It's going to be really exciting, and that's their way in. That's their way in, is beating Oklahoma State. They still got to play OU. If they can compete with OU, possibly. So.
No, you mentioned this is their way in. This is their only way in.
Yes.
They have to win this game. I mean, their schedule doesn't get any easier here. They still have to play OU. They still have to play OSU, like we talked about this week. They still have to play Texas. They have TCU. They have West Virginia. It's not an easy road left, and not only will they have to win all their games, they're going to need help from some other teams dropping some games that they probably shouldn't. So I think it's a little bit too little, too late. I mean, glad to see Iowa State's rebounding, but they're not getting to the Big 12 championship.
Yeah, I'm honestly pulling for Iowa State to win today, because I'm so tired of everybody being like, Oklahoma State's so good, they're undefeated, look at my Gundy, blah, 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 blah. They have a great defense, but, they're just squeaking by with wins. They've been getting lucky. Mm-hmm. So I'm really hope that Iowa State shuts them down.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really hoping that the pistols are jammed today. They will not be firing, hopefully.
I hope so, too. I agree with you. Everyone just thinks the Cowboys are so good, but they're just a little bit underrated. But when we return, we'll be making our upset picks and score predictions ahead of Oklahoma's contest with the Jayhawks. Stay with us.
I will never forget this day. In this moment, it's as if time itself has stopped for us. The thought of being here with you. When two become one. I will never forget this day. Your opioid addiction affects more than just you. Get help. Visit ok.gov/health.
This is Tehani. She likes to play with her friends and has dreams of becoming a doctor. But when COVID-19 devastated her community, she was taken out of school and forced into marriage at just 12 years old. Tehani and thousands of other child brides are facing domestic abuse, female genital mutilation, and life-threatening pregnancies. And the pandemic is causing these numbers to rise. Too Young to Wed envisions a world where girls are free to simply be children and determine the course of their own lives. Will you help us?
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly and put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
Every day,
Millions of people are connecting
and even though we're overcoming obstacles, watching each other's backs,
and banding together.
we should still make an effort
We should still make an
to
effort.
get to know each other.
On a deeper level.
Father,
Cosplayer,
Mentor.
actor.
it's time we take a step forward
It's time we take a step forward, come together,
and discover
how accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
Welcome back to Studio A here in Gaylord College. Sometimes the unexpected can happen in college football. Carly, give me your underdog pick that's going to leave their opponent with an L.
For some odd reason, the Boilermakers are 3-point underdogs against Wisconsin. Purdue has one of the best defenses in the country, allowing only 14 points per game. The last time Purdue beat Wisconsin was in 2003. The Badgers have won the last 14 matchups. I think today the Boilermakers are going to put an end to the Badgers' winning streak. Wisconsin has struggled bad offensively. Graham Mertz just is not a great quarterback at all. His stats are really, really bad. He's 80 of 144 for 893 yards and just 2 touchdowns against 7 interceptions. He has 16 yards rushing and 22 carries. Wisconsin is 13th in the league in scoring offense at 19.7 points per game. They are 12th in passing at 161.7 yards per game. I don't know why they're favored over Purdue. Purdue has a really strong defense. They just had a great upset win. I think that they're going to upset Wisconsin.
Yeah, I gotta go with Clemson over Pittsburgh. I mean, I understand they're unranked, but why is Clemson the underdog here? They're a 3-point underdog and everything, and Pittsburgh is ranked and everything, and they're doing okay. But I mean, it's Clemson. Dabo Swinney. I mean, it's still a great program. So let's just not forget about them. I know they're not doing as great this year, and they're without Trevor Lawrence, their golden boy. But I mean, come on, they're still Clemson. The Tigers gonna be just fine. I mean, maybe not this year. They're definitely not making the playoffs, nor are they gonna be ACC champs. But they're Clemson. They're going to be fine. They're going to win some games still. And maybe next year we'll see what happens.
Pittsburgh isn't just okay. Do you not like Kenny Pickett?
No. No.
He's a great quarterback. I mean, he's even considered kind of like a Heisman candidate right now with how well he's playing and leading that team. I think they're easily going to beat Clemson today.
Yeah, but
Pittsburgh's playing at home.
I understand, but
that is true, and you're just saying it's Clemson, but what is Clemson going to do? They've not been the best.
They can't put up numbers. Kenny Pickett and that offense can put up numbers.
And I'm just sorry, that home field advantage, it's gonna be a make or break moment.
Yeah, I understand, but it's a ranked team, and I think Clemson's gonna want to come out and do something more. I mean, they're getting into the second half of the season. They're not gonna make an amazing run, but maybe they're gonna find some motivation to do better and go in with a better culture into the next year. So they got to turn it around.
If you have to find motivation, that right there. I mean, I feel like Pittsburgh, they're going to take advantage and go ahead for that leeway right there. I mean, I'd say
something about that pick, but I think they already got it. I think they already got you enough for it, so I'll just leave you alone. But I've got Temple over South Florida. Not often will you see a team that's 1-5 who's a 2-point favorite, but South Florida is that team. South Florida has lost all good games, unfortunately, to NC State, Florida, BYU, SMU, and Tulsa. Their one win is over Florida A&M, powerhouse Florida A&M. And then Temple last week lost to Cincy in a blowout, but I think that they get a bounce-back win this week. So if you ask me who is my upset winner, the Owls are who? There you go.
Carly, you want to say something? I see it.
I'm just going to leave it.
Okay, so going on, the Air Force Falcons are taking on San Diego State. Who's going to pull the win, guys?
I think Air Force takes the air out of the football. Their running game will chew up the clock and slow down the game and limit San Diego State possessions. This will be a slow-paced, low-scoring affair, but I think Air Force can pull off the win.
Yeah, I also got the Air Force. I mean, they work really hard. San Diego State, like you said, just everything. She said it right out of my mouth, so Air Force is just going to take it.
I also have Air Force. I mean, that triple option's hard to stop. Triple option teams are just also not easy to prepare for because most college teams you play now are going to play in a pro system or something like a spread. So when you play something like an option, it can definitely get your team off kilter and catch them by surprise. But if a team like Air Force gets out early and gets a lead, they can bleed the clock all game. OU a couple of years ago played against Army. Army got out and just controlled every single possession and just shrunk the game down. That's the game plan for Air Force, but I've got them winning over San Diego State.
Okay. And next up, the battle between historic programs. The Fighting Irish and the USC Trojans are going head-to-head. Who you got?
USC is 2-0 on the road this season. Last week they had a bye week, so they could really prepare for this rivalry game. Notre Dame's offensive line has been terrible. They're not really blocking for quarterback Jack Cohn or quarterback Tyler Buckner to throw. Jack Cohn is listed as the top QB on the depth chart, but I think Tyler Buckner is still going to get some playing time. Brian Kelly's kind of switching in between the two, but I think the QB switch isn't going to help the Fighting Irish win this one. I have USC.
They're the Fighting Irish. They're going to go out there and work. It's a pretty good program I literally believe every year they're going to go in and just do amazing. Now, USC, they've had some struggles this year. Sorry to Saul. I know you're siding with them, Carly, but come on. It's USC. They're all right. They're not great. Notre Dame's going to go in there and just, do well.
I also have Notre Dame winning this. I mean, USC has lost 3 games already, all by double digits, and now they have to go on the road to South Bend into Notre Dame, play them in front of Touchdown Jesus. They're going to go from playing in 87-degree weather in Southern California to a brisk, probably 30, 40 degrees at Notre Dame. I don't think they can keep up. You mentioned it, but I also feel bad for our dear friend Saul Meyer, who picked USC tragically. But I will not make that mistake. I'm picking Notre Dame. Notre Dame is more talented, better coach, and they're playing at home. I've got them winning this one.
But they can't protect the quarterback, and they struggle to run the ball. That's why I don't trust Notre Dame.
I mean, they've had their struggles, but I've seen the last few weeks that they look a lot better than they did earlier in the season. USC, on the other hand, is still trying to recover from when Pete Carroll was the head coach.
Okay, well, in the Pac-12, it's the Ducks and the Bruins. Who's going to show out today?
The mighty Bruins are at home in the Rose Bowl. I think they're going to take the win. Oregon hasn't really been playing clean, good football. They've been struggling. CJ Verdell is out, and that doesn't really help the run game. Oregon doesn't really look like one of the top teams in the country right now, and they have too many season-ending injuries. Oregon quarterback Anthony Brown is hit or miss. I cannot confidently say that Oregon's going to win this game. I love Chip Kelly and the Bruins. These are his guys. This team has really grown up together. You know, he started all of them in 2018, and now they've gained valuable playing time, and I think they'll be prepared to beat Oregon today at home.
Yeah, I mean, UCLA is a great team, great coach and everything, but Oregon is a really good team. They've had some bad injuries in the year, but just like their jerseys, they're going to go hard. Like, I know they are going to. Those jerseys and them, it's electric. It's electric. Right there. So, I mean, Oregon's going to be doing good. UCLA is going to do great, but it's UCLA with a coach that is great, but I don't know. I got Oregon.
Carly, did you say the mighty Bruins? It's the Mighty Ducks. That's what it is. Yeah, the Mighty Ducks. But you mentioned CJ Verdell's not playing, but they still do have Travis Dye and Anthony Brown at quarterback, like you said. They've had kind of a three-headed monster in the running game when they have all three of those guys there, but still two of them should be enough. I mentioned earlier talking to Dakota about Kayvon Thibodeau, one of the best defenders in all of college football, makes his return after a few missed games, including against Ohio State. They haven't had him really all season, so we haven't seen them as a complete team probably until now. Oregon takes care of business against their old coach in Chip Kelly, which ironically it took until Chip Kelly went to UCLA for Oregon to finally get those high-flying offenses back.
I don't know. UCLA just had a really good team win against Washington. Quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson was 21 of 26 for 183 yards. He threw for 2 touchdowns and ran one into the end zone. Thompson-Robinson even had a phenomenal last drive of that game. He was 8 for 8 passing yards for 47 yards and 10 on the ground. I just think UCLA all around looks like the better football team, and Kelly is 0-2 against the Ducks. You know, I think he's really hungry for this win, and he wants to do it at his home stadium.
No, he definitely wants it, but I don't know. I think UCLA is a really good team. They're just not Oregon.
Okay. So now this is going to be a great matchup between two Big 12 teams, Oklahoma State and Iowa State. Which state is taking the dub?
Like I said earlier, Oklahoma State has magically just been squeaking by with wins all season long, and I think the winning streak ends today. Like I said earlier, last week, Breece Hall had a great game against K-State. Hall ran for a career-high 197 yards. And he has been over 100 yards for 4 games this season. The Cyclones just need to get Breece Hall going, take the pressure off of Brock Purdy so he's not sprinting all over the place. The O-line needs to block for him to give Breece Hall some room. I think the Cyclones will really come out and win this one, and I think we'll see the end of, Mike Gundy's glory days.
It's luck. Simply just call it luck.
Yeah, I agree on this one with Carly. I mean, Iowa State, I really got them. They literally today's game is literally so important for them to get into the Big 12 championship. I mean, it's so important. Now, Oklahoma State, Spencer Sanders, he was figuring it out in that fourth quarter against Texas. But, I mean, they're just not that team on offense. They're not that great. Jaylen Warren's doing great. Spencer Sanders okay. But they just don't have the keys. They don't have the keys. And they have Mike Gundy. His flow is not going to help him in this game. That mullet is not there for him. So, Iowa State's going to win this game in Ames. They're home. I mean, it's literally going to be heading in the right direction for them.
Am I the only one with some state pride here? I'll take OSU. I'm not even mad about that. I like them beating Iowa State in Ames. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. You both mentioned it, that these offenses are not great. I think it's going to come down to ball control, time possession, like I keep talking about, whoever has the ball last. But Iowa State has, or OSU, this is their best start since 2015. You guys talked about lucking out, but you don't really you can luck into a win or a lucky play that gets you a win, but you don't luck into being 7, 6, 7, 8, 0. Like, you have to go out there and win these games, and they're just taking care of business in what's on their schedule. Have they played the best teams in the conference yet? No, but it's hard to dock them points for just playing the teams that they were assigned. But I like OSU in this one. They've won their last 4 games in Ames. The last time that there was a big game in Ames between OSU and Iowa State, famously OSU lost that. That was their chance to go to the national championship. But I think OSU gets revenge tonight against the Cyclones.
Okay. And last but not least, the Oklahoma Sooners and the Kansas Jayhawks from Lawrence, Kansas. Give me your pick.
I feel like this is a really easy pick. I have Oklahoma beating the Jayhawks. You know, the Jayhawks just are terrible every single year. They don't have a strong football team. I think Caleb Williams in the offense will score about 6 touchdowns. I think we'll even see Spencer Rattler start in the second half. I think this will be a really good game for the young guys to get some experience, you know, let the old guys kind of rest, sit back in the first half, start all the young guys in the second half to get them some playing time and experience. I think this will be an easy win for the Oklahoma Sooners. What do you think, Dakota?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Caleb Williams is going to go in there, be electric. Kennedy Brooks is just going to run all over the place again. And we can see Spencer Rattler go in there, get some work in, prove himself, and show that he's still really good. I mean, I believe he's really good, but Caleb Williams is that guy. Now, you know what Kansas Jayhawk fans are asking? Is it basketball season yet? Like, I mean, it's literally a game against OU. Every year they look at this game and they're like, oh, brother, I can't. This just needs to be done. So, yeah, it's not basketball season yet, so definitely OU winning this game.
I've got his OU as well for the clean sweep. OU just needs to take care of business. This is not a game that they should lose by any means. They should cover whatever the line is. I don't care if it's 50. They should be covering it. But OU, just go out there, play your game. Don't go for a bunch of big plays. You're the better team. Just run it all the way down their throat, get some passes in, get Caleb Williams in and out of the game, get him rested, get Spencer Rattler some reps, because you never know with injuries. Caleb Williams could get, you know, God forbid, hurt, and we have Rattler back in, and we'll need him to be ready to play. But on top of that, this team just has a ton of injuries, and a game like this is great in terms of if they can get up early and get out of there with a win and survive. A lot of these guys can get back to the locker room, get back to Norman, get some treatment, and get healthier for the games that are bigger.
Yeah, like you said, Oklahoma's the better team. They just need to go out there and do what they do best. They don't need to do too much. They need to stick to their game plan. They're the better team. They have the better playbook. They're capable of winning. They just need to do what they usually do.
So I actually have a quick question. With Spencer potentially being able to go into the game, do you guys see him performing slightly better since he's been out for a few weeks?
I think he definitely has that extra motivation to come out and be like, you know what, like, just because this true freshman stole my job doesn't mean that, you know, he's better than me. Right. I mean, I think that Caleb's better than him, but, you know, he's going to have that chip on his shoulder to come out and show out. He's going to be like, I don't care if this is still Kansas, you know, I still want my completion percentage to be high. I want to show that I'm smart and I'm capable, because let's say he does transfer at the end of the season, he still needs those stats. His performance still matters, even if he isn't the starter for every game for the rest of the season.
Yeah, for sure. He's going to go in there, prove himself that he is a good quarterback, because I think people are starting to doubt him now because of, like, Caleb going in. I mean, if you do doubt him, what are you doing? This guy is a really good quarterback. He's a system quarterback, and I think today he might be able to prove himself against Kansas.
Okay, well, we're going to have to stop it here and see what happens at the game. That is all the time we have this morning for Game Day U. For Carly Murray, Dakota Wapakichi, and Michael Martin, I'm Mecca Thompson. Be sure to follow Game Day U on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and tune in next Saturday for some more college football action. Have a great day and enjoy the games.